Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I'm Head of Marketing at Anicca Digital. Welcome to our session as part of the Leicester Business Festival. Today you're going to meet Matt and Rachel, and they're talking about paid techniques to grow your business now. We've actually got a poll live today, so if you just want to take a quick look at that, it's about, do you manage paid media in-house for Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, ads, and other social media? So it'd be really good if you can answer that. So the answers are, no, we don't do this right now. Yes, but someone else manages this in our organization. Yes, me and our team are using paid ads. Yes, me and my team are using Facebook and Instagram ads. Yes, me and my team are using LinkedIn ads. Yes, me and my team are using Pinterest ads. Yes, me and my team are using other advertising platforms such as Twitter, TikTok, and Snap. And yes, we use a freelancer or agency to help us manage our ads. So if you can look at that now, that would be great. Just as part of the introductions, really, handouts will be available just to show you what the agenda will be for today as well. So you're going to meet the team. You're going to have Matt talking about digital marketing channels and how to grow your business now with Google Ads. And then you're going to obviously meet Rachel, and she's going to be talking about growing your business with Facebook and LinkedIn ads. So a few of you are definitely replying to the poll. Keep that live for a bit longer. Just a couple of minutes or so. Yeah, it's really interesting actually what's coming through. 27% of you are saying, you know, you are using paid search and you are using Facebook and Instagram ads as a team. A few people are saying they don't use it at all. Someone else saying it's managed by someone else in the organization, which is fine. Yeah, numbers are going up, but it's kind of still quite like up that, to be honest. So we're just and can we just check before we move forward as well, just that you can all hear us okay? I think it's fine today, but if you just click on the chat and put yes, that'd be really great, just so we know.
Or even a nice thumbs up will do the job.
Yeah. There's a lot of mornings. Welcome to Elijah, Paul, Simon, Walter. I love that name, Walter. My friend of school, Walter. Philippa and Joanna.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
Morning, world.
Okay. I think we can really start going quite soon, actually. I think the more people are joining, so that's fine. It's still quite the same on the poll, actually. Interestingly, people aren't using TikTok, Snap, Twitter, and LinkedIn on here, and there's no freelancers being used. So it's more kind of skewed on Facebook, Instagram, 35% of you using that, and then paid search, 29%, and it's managed by different people's in organization. And actually 12% of people aren't even doing anything at the moment. So yeah, it's great for us to judge the audience today. Okay. So in terms of the agenda again, so you're meeting the team, Matt's talking about digital marketing channels and then going into talking about Google ads. And then you'll meet Rachel and she's talking about Facebook and LinkedIn ads. So, right, we can clearly get going. So Rachel, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Rachel. I've been at Anicca for about 3 months now, so quite new to the team. I've been working in social for around 7 years, and that's across paid and organic, in-house and within agency. So I've worked on a lot of different brands, a lot of different types of business. I worked on social for events for a while. That was very exciting. And then went into e-commerce and FMCG. So today I'm going to be focusing on paid techniques. I've kind of tailored it towards, so if you don't really know too much about paid social, obviously we start at the basics and then we go into some details. So hopefully it suits everybody in the audience today. But if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I can answer them once the presentation's over, or hopefully Matt might be able to answer them as we go, because Matt also works on some social accounts, so he is helpful for that sort of thing today too.
We will see, won't we? Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Matt Cocking, and again, I've recently joined Anicca. It's more or less to pursue my career in offering top level consultancy and training as part of a top class agency. Bit of a agency plug there, I know, but where's the fun without one? So I've got 10 years experience in digital overall, and I've been specializing in paid media for 6 of those. Specifically, e-commerce is where my specialism lies. And I mean, I love the analytics and the stats and the figures that you get out of e-commerce. I mean, across all businesses in reality, but that's where the fun lies for me. But also, I'm a keen fitness enthusiast, and also I've won loads of badminton tournaments in the past as well. Can't say since COVID and since all the lockdowns happened that my fitness is quite what it was, but I still enjoy spending time in the gym. So, moving straight into the juice of the presentation. So, first up is a quick introduction to digital marketing channels as a whole. Now everybody knows there's tons and tons of different channels, tons of targeting options. But what we need to know is how specifically can users find your website. So both new and potential customers can use search, such as Google, social, such as Facebook, LinkedIn, like we're talking about today. And then there's tons of other websites and media sites that ads and organic listings can be across as well. And in reality, you've got to make sure you find your target audience in the right place. And we have a saying at Anicca, and that saying is POET, so poet. And these are the different marketing channels that all make up part of the marketing mix that's available to all of us as businesses and business owners. And so that's paid. So paid search, paid display, essentially any platform that allows you to pay for advertising across it. Owned, which is search engine optimization, content marketing, anything that you have to, take accountability for and grow as time goes by. And then you've got earned, which is, producing a fantastic piece of content for online PR purposes, or, community management through leadership as well. So Facebook groups and things like that could be a fantastic way of earning respect in your communities. And then finally technical as well. So in every instance, there's always technical elements of a website build or of voice search these days is huge in digital at the moment. So making sure you make the most of all the technical elements as well. So that's Poet. And so what sources of traffic drive the most interaction for each type of business as well? So these are just some examples that we've put together today. So as you can see there, solicitors is a lead generation style business. And you can see that organic search is very, very high for solicitors. Now, realistically, that's because things like paid search, for example, are extremely expensive in terms of cost per click for solicitors. And that's due to the high amount of competition and also the high value, realistically, of each of the leads that comes in. But then you can see across home and garden, which in theory would be e-commerce, and doors and windows as well, which can be a bit of a mixed bag. But as you can see, the sort of lower value conversions, I suppose, in terms of e-commerce, the average order values are likely to be lower through those channels. And you can see as you move through those channels, the paid search element of the mix there gets dramatically increased up to almost 27% for doors and windows, and it's 17% for home and garden. So you can see where paid search specifically is going to have the most dramatic impact. Now, that's not to say lead generation businesses such as solicitors don't make use of paid search. They still do, but it requires even more sort of nitty gritty and specific management of those. And a bit of information about the UK search engine market. So interestingly, we found that in 2020, Google reintroduced or amped up, I suppose is a good term to use, its share of the market. I think COVID had a dramatic impact on some of the other search engines. And we can see now, as of June 2021, Google was up to 87.7% of the search market. So, you know, a huge percentage share in that. However, there are some other important channels to bear in mind. Definitely not to turn your nose up at these other big players in the market. And we've got Bing, we've got Yahoo, and we've also got DuckDuckGo, which is down there at 0.46%. However, 0.46% of, you know, billions of searches a day is still a hell of a lot of people searching. So definitely not to be ignored. So interestingly, it's always good to know what happens after a user searches on Google, because in reality, that landscape is changing all the time as well. And in terms of desktop searches, there are now 46.48% of searches that are zero-click searches. So I imagine you've all seen this in the past. When you search for something and Google quite literally pulls out a snippet known as position 0 by some. And you can read the information that you're looking for right there on Google's results pages. A fantastic bit of technology, but it does throw another element into the mix, I suppose, when you're looking at optimizing. And then you've got still a 50.75% organic click-through rate, but a 2.78% paid click-through rate as well on desktop, which is a very, very high click-through rate. And in reality, what we want to do is make sure we're zapping every bit of juice out of those clicks and making the most of that opportunity there. I appreciate it looks like a very small piece of this pie, but from experience, I can let you know that small piece of pie is well worth having if you get it right. And some interesting takeaways from this first section. So getting found in the search engines is still the most important way to get traffic to your site, even if you have to pay for it. Now, specifically because you'll find that if someone's searching for something on Google, they definitely have a keen interest in what they're searching for. So very, very important to remember. Building your brand will generate traffic, direct traffic specifically, but people will also search for your brand in Google. So it's always a good way to have an understanding of how well a brand building exercise is going. Some sectors have more paid search ads, and that's always important to bear in mind as well. It's not to say that, and I appreciate as a paid media specialist, this might be cheeky to say, but I think it's always important to bear in mind other channels as well. And it's not to say that paid search ads isn't relevant to every business, but in reality, it's making sure that you get that split absolutely right for your type of business. And just because some ads, someone doesn't search specifically for your types of business, it doesn't mean that they're still not interested in what you're offering either. There's things like display ads that help you get your ads in front of audiences that haven't necessarily specifically searched for what you do yet. And that is another element of paid media that's huge at the moment. And also social media. A bit of a shout out to Rachel, who will be taking over later on and talking about LinkedIn ads and other types of ad formats as well for you. But essentially, social media ads they drive a smaller amount of traffic, but that traffic, especially when there's paid traffic involved as well, can be extremely powerful traffic, and it's a fantastic way of getting in front of people and businesses who weren't even aware of your company yet. So can be super powerful. And so moving into paid search, growing your business with Google Ads. So I hope everybody is excited and ready to learn a little bit more about Google Ads. So what we're going to cover today is specifically what is paid search advertising, why and when should you use Google Ads, the key metrics and the terminology as well, because it's always important to remember those elements. And then the account structure and hierarchy. We're going to learn a little bit about what, in theory, what a Google Ads account can look like. Understanding the different key phrases that are available and the different keyword match types specifically. Understanding the ads, what they look like, and what you can expect from them. And then we're going to run through some other targeting options and campaign settings. And then we've got a few top tips and tricks as well. Bit of a tongue twister there for you, but top tips and tricks from the team at Anicca as well, and from myself. So let's dive straight in. So what is paid search advertising? Paid search or PPC is quite literally advertising within search results and then paying only when a user clicks on your ad. So as we've already talked about, we've got Google Ads, we've got Bing Ads, which is now known as Microsoft Advertising, and we've also got smaller platforms such as DuckDuckGo as well. Definitely not to be forgotten. It's kind of an up and coming, I suppose, let's say, data friendly search engine is DuckDuckGo, and it's definitely on its way up through the percentages when it comes to how many people search on it. So it's something to bear in mind and something to look into. So paid results, they're often at the top of search results. And this is something that's super important, and it's key for any business in reality. If ads are available and if other businesses are using ads, it could be really important for your business to make sure that you do so as well. Because realistically, as you can see from the image there, you can see that the shopping ads in this instance for a search of white trainers. You then have 3 text ads underneath that, and then the organic listings come down below that. So in theory, I don't know about you guys, but on my laptop screen, realistically, that's going to mean that I only have paid ads available on my screen when I do a search, which is extremely powerful for those businesses that are taking that opportunity. And then a search for estate agents shows another text ad at the top, a paid ad at the top. And again, taking up a good chunk of real estate, no pun intended at all. But yeah, taking up a lot of real estate on the search engine results pages. And then you've got a map listing as well to show where these businesses are. So as you can see, in that instance, you can't even see the true organic listings thereafter. It's just showing you the location options and the paid ads. So you can see from those 2 examples just how important it can be. And then if we take a look at the advertising spend in the UK as well. So we did see a small drop in 2020. As you can imagine, that was realistically due to COVID. However, we have bounced back dramatically in 2021. And in terms of what's predicted, it's going to be a huge jump up to about £24.25 billion in ad spend in the UK. So as you can see, it's getting more and more important to put money into the right platforms to make your business grow. And then realistically, how that's split down by the different platforms. We've got digital now making up, over 71% of that ad spend. So, and as you can see, moving forward into the future, that's just going to get higher and higher. Digital and mobile making up such a dramatic percentage as TV and print gradually, not completely. There will always be room for these channels, without a doubt. There's fantastic techniques and fantastic businesses that take care of those elements for you, but digital is going to just continue to grow and grow. And growth of ad spend by format as well. So something that we've seen a growth in dramatically over the last year or so is video ad spend as well. And in particular, it's actually taking a bigger share of the pie than display ads that are non-video now as well. So it's becoming very, very clear that users react very well to video content. But as you can see, search is still by far the biggest driver of traffic and of ad spend. And it's just growing every single year. It's 49.4% up year on year, as you can see. So why and when should you use Google Ads? So there's 3.5 billion or over 3.5 billion searches on Google every single day, which is, it's an unfathomable amount in reality. I know myself, I do a good number of searches. I probably do 20 to 30 searches a day just myself, if not more on a work day. So I imagine that multiplied by everyone in my industry and then everyone in everybody else's industries, it's just bonkers to think about, really. But what does that mean as well? So as you can see, Google's market share is around about that 87% mark now. And yes, as Anna's just mentioned as well, there's a big increase in paid search due to the explosion in e-commerce and Google Shopping ads, which is a fantastic point. And in reality, it's had an impact on every single market. But if you're not selling your products online these days or selling your services online, it can be a game changer. And getting that right is very, very important, and that's part of the reason for these webinars that we do. We want to help people drive their businesses in the right direction with their paid advertising. So when should you use Google Ads? So as we've already mentioned, when you need more sales or leads for your website or business, pretty obvious one really in reality, and making sure that you've got your paid ads set up well and correctly can be a huge driving force for that. To get visibility for specific key phrases, if there are key phrases or keywords that you're not currently ranking for organically, using paid ads can be a fantastic way of getting your business in front of the right people in those instances. Yes, you have to pay for the privilege of doing so, but managed well, it can be extremely powerful. And then for any new websites as well, with little to no traffic, it can be a great way to get things kicked off, and start driving that traffic to your website, start building that influence in whatever industry it is that you're working in. For time-sensitive campaigns as well. So a fantastic example coming up now. I imagine a lot of businesses have got plans for Black Friday. If you haven't, then I'd get moving. But yes, I think there's a lot of businesses now that plan the year round for Black Friday, and getting a fantastic plan in place for Black Friday to make the most of it is super, super important these days, because it's a huge money driver for a lot of businesses. Then to form part of a full marketing strategy as well. So making sure all of your channels work aligned is something that we're pushing hard at Anicca at the moment as well. Rachel and myself, as I already mentioned, Rachel will be taking over to talk about paid social ads soon. We work closer than ever to make sure that all of our channels and all of our efforts are working towards the same goal, and making sure that ads line up with each other and offer the same offers and et cetera, et cetera. That's it's very important from a branding perspective to make sure that you interlock all of your channels, and then also develop brand awareness. People want to know about your brand, especially if they're searching for things related to your brand. So it's a great way to get yourselves in front of those people. But when not to use Google Ads, so it's always important to remember that there are reasons why Google Ads isn't necessarily going to be relevant to you, or isn't necessarily going to be the best channel to start with. So one would be when the cost to get a booking or a lead or a sale exceeds the value of the conversion. So in reality, if you're paying £15 to get a sale of £10, then it's not the right channel for you. That also applies for businesses that have low profit margins as well, as you can see down in the middle there. If you've got low profit margins, it's going to be very, very tricky on a platform that is a charge on a cost per click basis to get the profit or the revenue or the return that you need. But also if you have a poor quality website, so in a lot of industries, a baseline would be below 1%. But it's important to remember that there are standards across different industries as well. And in reality, some websites do have conversion rates lower than 1%, especially those with really, really high conversion values as well. And I know that the lead times and the value of some conversions in businesses is huge compared to, for example, some in the e-commerce sectors. So it is important to bear in mind that is on an industry by industry basis. And also when competition has driven the price of the click far too high. So as I already mentioned, there are some industries that realistically they do have cost per clicks of 10, 15, maybe even up to £20 in some instances. And it's, it becomes a lot trickier, not impossible. I'm not going to say impossible, because there are definitely businesses that still succeed in these areas. But when your clicks are costing rather than 20 to 20p to £1, when they're costing 15 to £20 per click, it does get a lot trickier to manage those ads, but it's doable without a doubt. And then also, if you don't have sufficient budgets, not necessarily the best channel to start with. Of course, you want to look at other avenues to generate revenue first, potentially. But again, that's not to say that it's not a possibility. And then finally, any forbidden or restricted business areas. So there are some areas, and you can find this information in Google's T's and C's and its documentation about any forbidden or restricted areas. But that would be things like tobacco, for example, can't be sold through Google Shopping Ads and Google Ads. So what are the key metrics and terminology for us to remember when looking at Google Ads? So I've broken this down into 4 sections for us. The first of which is traffic. So under traffic, the key metrics to bear in mind are your impressions, first and foremost. So this is essentially the number of times your ad is visibly displayed somewhere on Google's search results pages. And this is after a user completes a search. Now, it is very important to remember that on Google, there are results that appear above the organic listings, and there are still results that appear below the organic listings as well. And that would be position 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, a viewable impression would be counted even if your ad appears right down at the bottom of Google's search results pages, right down on that first page at the bottom, that is. And it would still count as impression. However, obviously, that's not necessarily to say that that a user will have seen your ad. So that's important to bear in mind. And then we've got clicks. So quite literally, the number of times any blue element of one of your ads has been clicked. So this would include the headlines, the site links, etc. And then finally, the click-through rate, or the CTR. So the CTR is the number of times that your ad is clicked versus the number of times your ad is seen, so the number of impressions. So quite literally, this will be clicks divided by impressions and then multiplied by 100, and that will give you your click-through rate percentage. And then we have the cost elements of your campaign. So the first being quite literally just that, the spend or the cost. So this is how much money has been spent on your ad campaign so far. This is viewable per campaign, per ad group, or per keyword, or as a total sum of all of your campaigns, for example. Very, very useful to keep on top of budgets, especially if you have tight budgets or restricted budgets, should I say. Then we have the cost per click, the CPC. So this is literally the average that's been charged per click for any of your campaigns. So that's not to say that each click costs exactly the same. It certainly doesn't. And you have some instances where clicks will cost dramatically more or dramatically less. It depends on the auction that takes place at the time that a user does a search for a relevant term for your business. So it could be that, the first click costs 55p, the second click costs 45p. Bear with me because I did leave this math very, very easy for myself. Didn't want to get tongue-tied as we went along, but that gives us a total of £1. And therefore, if we divide that pound by the 2 clicks that we've had, that would be an average cost per click of 50p. And then finally, the third important cost metric to remember is the cost per conversion, the CPA, as it's called, cost per acquisition. The average that you've been charged per conversion for your campaign. And it's important to bear in mind that when I talk about conversion, a conversion could range from the purchase of a product all the way through to a form submission, or someone potentially picking up the phone if that's a relevant conversion for your business. Excuse me. And then talking about conversions, these are the three key conversion metrics that we talk about. In reality, these are the most prevalent ones. That's not to say there aren't more options for some businesses, but the key ones would be a lead. So an action taken potentially on the website or on your website that qualifies as a potential interaction that could become a lead. So it could be anything from filling in a form, like we've already mentioned, or it could even be like the download of a PDF. There's a lot of businesses, especially in the B2B sector, that offer PDFs and offer white paper downloads and things like that, especially for businesses with higher average order values and higher product values. Those white papers can be, and those PDF downloads can be key in getting users to convert for yourselves. And then we have calls. So either a call directly from an ad or via a call extension, or sometimes from a number displayed on the website as well. So these can be specifically tracked back to Google Ads if you deem them as a relevant conversion for your business. And then finally, purchases. Probably the most obvious of the three, I would have thought. But in reality, if you have a website that's an e-commerce website, if you sell products online, you can track the number of purchases, but also the value of those purchases as well. So being able to keep an eye on that is really important. And then the final section is the e-commerce tracking metrics. And some of these do apply for B2B as well. In particular, there are technologies now that help us guide businesses from talking about CPA, the cost per acquisition or the cost per conversion, through to talking about quite literally the return on investment that you have and the revenue you've generated via Google Ads. So I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about those that would be interested. But the three key elements here are the revenue, so literally the amount of revenue generated from a particular campaign. So this is also known as conversion value in Google Ads, if you'd like to know the specific lingo that Google uses. And this could be the exact value based on an e-commerce website, or it could also be the AOV, the average order value, which I do talk about in a moment. But sometimes businesses use the average order value rather than exact values, and that can be powerful for B2B businesses. You have ROI or ROAS, which is your return on investment or return on ad spend, and they're calculated to determine how many pounds that you make from every £1 spent. So, for example, ROAS would be the revenue divided by the ad spend, and then the ROI deducts those ad costs that you may have as well. So we tend to aim at Anicca for a ROAS of 5-1 or over, or an ROI of 4-1 or over. Now, again, this is very dependent on product margins, very dependent on each industry and each sector, but that's something to bear in mind, because in reality you need to make sure you're making money from your ads, otherwise it's not so much of a worthwhile investment potentially. And then finally, average order value. So we touched on this already, but average order value is the average value of a purchase made through a campaign, and as talked about, this could dramatically differ from B2C through to B2B as well. A lot of businesses have very, very different products with product values, so that is something to bear in mind. So moving on to account structure and hierarchy, it's important to know exactly how you could expect a Google Ads account to look. In reality, this is kind of the baseline. This is a general idea for you guys. And it gives some examples as well. So at the very top level, you'd have the account. So this is the account linked to the business that you're running the ads for. Now, there could be instances in which it would be relevant to have more than one account for a business. For example, if you have ads running in different countries and the different countries are managed by different agencies or different parts of the business in each country, then they may have separate accounts. But yes, that's generally how that works. And then within each account, you will have a multitude of campaigns. Now, those campaigns will be related to very different elements of the business, as you'll see on the next slide in a moment. Those campaigns are then broken down into ad groups, which is talking about specific elements of each of those campaigns. And finally, you have your keywords and ad copy that are hosted with each of your ad groups. So keywords and ad copy both related to each other in a sense that you need to make sure that your ad copy discusses the keywords that you've used. So an example that I've provided for everybody is a holiday company ads account. So a holiday company ads account might have a campaign of hotels. And then within that campaign, it might talk about hotels in Spain with a bit of a location-based campaign. And then the keywords and the ad copy within that ad group would need to be related to hotels in Spain. And the ad copy would reflect that as well. Very important to make sure that your ad copy discusses exactly what the keywords are saying, because that will impact the quality or the quality score, as it's known in Google Ads, of the advertisers of the advertising that you're providing. And then the other example is luxury hotels, and again, making sure that keywords and ad copy link back to the ad group that you are advertising for. But then within a separate campaign, you'd have holiday packages. Now, the reason being, what you don't want to do is link your hotels campaign and your holiday packages campaign too closely together. They are in reality, they are individual elements. You want to be able to track the statistics and the performance of each of those services that you offer individually, because that is how over time you can begin to improve on the performance of your ads account. And then under holiday packages, in theory, you would have cheap holidays in one ad group, and you would have keywords relating to cheap holidays and ad copy relating to cheap holidays. And then in true form, holidays to Jamaica could be another campaign, another ad group, under your campaign of holiday packages. And then moving on to the shopping hierarchy. Now, Google Shopping works a little bit differently compared to your regular search ads. And I'm sure some of you on here today will know that all too well. But essentially, the key difference here versus a regular search campaign is that rather than providing ad copy and keywords, you would provide the products within each of those ad groups. So again, a structured example of that would be a sportswear ads account that has a trainers campaign that splits that trainer campaign down into different brands. So, for example, Nike trainers that would hold all of the Nike trainer products, and then you would have Puma trainers that holds all of the Puma trainer products. So, very, very simple in theory to split those up. However, in practice, as I'm sure some of you are aware, it's a lot more interesting than that. And then you have a campaign that's clothing as well. So that could be broken down into the product type rather than the brand in this instance. This is important to note because in reality, different businesses have different margins across different brands and or across different product types or both as well. So bearing that in mind when you're structuring your campaigns can help you keep an eye on which product types and which product brands are driving you the most revenue and the most return as well. And being able to optimize your campaigns based on that is very, very powerful. So let's move on to understanding some key phrases. Specifically, I want to talk about keyword research or key phrase research, I should say. Now at Anicca, we like to start this process with a tool called Topics on SEO Monitor. So it's topics.seomonitor.com if anyone wants to check that out. Essentially, very, very helpful tool that helps you to start generating not just ideas of what keywords and what monthly trends are for those particular keywords, but also what competitors you can expect in each of these areas or any of these areas related to a keyword that you're interested in. So as you can see there, a search of Nike trainers is predominantly owned by Nike.com. Unsurprisingly, they have huge visibility for keywords relating to Nike trainers. But then very close second, and also quite a close third, are Sports Direct and JD Sports as well, with visibility in these areas of 64% and then 59% as well. And as Anna's just mentioned, we do also use Google's key phrase planner, but the tool is a little bit more complex, I think is the best term to use. And a tool like topics.seomonitor.com is extremely simple to navigate and simple to extract information from, as you can see here as well. So that search for Nike trainers, it gives us potential cost per clicks, and it also gives us estimated search volumes as well. So it's really, really easily laid out, and it's really helpful to understand what year-on-year changes look like for some of these keywords as well, because that can be super important. Some industries have buzzwords and some industries have phrases that are up-and-coming phrases. And if you can kind of get ahead of that curve, sometimes it can make all the difference. So what keyword match types are there? And also, for those of you that are aware of the different keyword match types, what's new and what's changed recently as well. So exact match, it's still given preference over phrase and broad match. I've heard on the grapevine some people using the term exact match is dead. I would be very, very confident to say that it's not, and using exact match can definitely still drive high quality traffic to your website and gives you excellent control over the ad copy that you're writing to go with that keyword as well. The important thing to bear in mind is that exact match keywords used to match very, very specifically to the term that you've entered. However, now you might find that a keyword of event management would show for event management searches, but it might also show for event organizers searches. So it's still a relevant term, but in reality, exact match is not quite so exact these days. So it's important to keep on top of exactly what your ads are showing for with your search term reports. Phrase match, and broad modified as well have had a massive change at the start of this year, and it's very, very important to know about this change. So phrase match has been expanded to cover, and quote unquote from Google's website, to cover additional broad match modified traffic while continuing to respect word order, that's supposed to say. Apologies for that. But essentially what that means is if the order of the words that you've put in for your keyword is key to how Google understands or how someone would read your ad, then it does respect that. But it does mean that realistically you can be found for a much bigger variety of terms. And it's important to keep on top of that with your search query reports. Broad match is the same as ever. It's safe to say broad match can be a very, very powerful type of keyword to use, but it definitely comes into play with a warning. That warning being it can definitely advertise your business for terms that you didn't necessarily expect it to do, which can be great sometimes, especially if you're trying to work out exactly what users are searching for that is relevant to your business. but it's important to keep on top of negative keywords, which we'll talk about in a moment. Broad modified, as we mentioned, sadly, rest in peace, broad modified. Broad modified keywords were a relatively powerful type of keyword, but we do know that phrase match keywords now cover a lot of the traffic that broad modified keywords were driving before, and used correctly and used efficiently, you can still get excellent results out of the keyword match types that we have left. And then finally, negatives. So a negative keyword, a good example is minus jobs. And any search that contains the word jobs would then not be included in that campaign that you set that negative for. So extremely helpful element of managing any ads account, and can help you exclude any irrelevant searches, any irrelevant traffic from your site. So moving on to the ads and understanding the ads that are available to us. So what do ads look like in 2021? There have been a few changes and updates, but in theory, they remain relatively consistent on the user facing end anyway. So for a search for football trainers, you can see shopping ads there at the top. There's often over 30 of these shopping ads. Clicking those little arrows to the right would expand the number of products that you can see there, and that list tends to go on and on for ages. And then you have a maximum of 4 search ads at the top of any search as well. And a little bit later on, well, here, in fact, we have a breakdown of exactly what those search ads can look like when they are used to their, I'm not going to say full potential, actually, because there are a couple of bits and bobs missing here, but this is how powerful search ads can be and how much space they can take up on a search results page. So elements of an ad and its ad extensions as well. We have responsive search ads within Google Ads, and we do, for now, still have expanded text ads available for creation. However, sadly, expanded text ads will be retired as of June 2022. Safe to say I won't be retired as of June 2022 though, so that's not a problem for anybody. But yes, expanded text ads, which I'll talk about the difference between the two in a moment, they will be retiring as of June 2022. But the elements of an ad, so a search for an airport parking has returned airportparkinguk.com. And at the very top, we have the display URL. We have a call extension, as you can see up in the top right there, a phone number for the business directly on Google's landing page. We have the headlines, so up to 3 headlines available for this ad, and also the description text and some call out extensions underneath. You can always spot a call out extension because it tends to have very brief bits of text with a full stop after each bit. So as you can see there, it says the UK market leader, full stop, over 32 years experience, full stop, etc. And then at the bottom, we have site links as well. So site links are an element of an ad that can help users navigate directly and quickly to a portion of the website or a landing page on the website that may have been more relevant to them. Bearing in mind that someone may have searched for airport parking, but actually they might need to park at Birmingham. So in that instance, they potentially would click through Birmingham Airport Park. So creating your text ads, the responsive ads are between 3 and 15 headlines. So you have to come up with 3 to 15 headlines for each of those responsive ads and 2 to 4 descriptions. Now, the key difference between expanded text ads as they were and the responsive search ads is that there used to only be 3 headline slots available for an expanded text ad and 2 descriptions, and that was it. But what Google does with responsive ads is it combines up to 3 headlines and up to 2 descriptions to come up with multiple versions of the ad. And then over time, we'll test those versions of the ad to essentially get to an end result, I suppose, of some sort that in which your most relevant and your most powerful and your best performing ad would show more often. You then have to make sure that your ad copy is highly relevant to a user's search. So this will help with quality score. But in theory, the gist of it is you need to make sure that if you're showing for a search of football boots, or if you offer football boots as a product, your ad copy then discusses football boots, and the landing page that you're driving people to should also discuss football boots, and that will ensure that quality scores remain high, and therefore cost per clicks remain lower as well. Your ad copy should also encourage click-throughs and conversions. In reality, you want to point out USPs, you want to point out important elements of or important actions, I should say, that you want your customers or potential customers to take, and that will help improve click-through rates as well. And then ongoing optimization is also needed to maintain and improve the performance of those ads as well. So in particular, you want to keep an eye on click-through rates and conversion rates and your quality scores as well. You want to keep an eye on your ad settings, so specifically the rotation. So do you optimize your ads evenly, or do you rotate the ads evenly so they can all be tested as time goes by? Or do you optimize as time goes by? Do you allow Google to optimize those ads and only show the best performing ones? And then a couple of additional considerations would be different campaign settings, which we do touch on briefly soon. But that's things like location, the different devices, and scheduling as well. What makes a good ad? So a strong call to action, as we already mentioned. Features, benefits, and USPs of your business. So in this particular ad example, we've got up to 60% off airport parking. Any special offers, again, 60% off airport parking. The brand as well. So sometimes, for example, Nike, the brand will sell itself in theory. And then any local aspects as well. So any messaging relating or pertaining to where your ads are relevant to or what location. So Birmingham, Manchester, Stansted. But there are some things that are no's when creating an ad. So excessive capitalization. Making sure that you don't overdo it with looking like you're shouting at any potential customers would be quite important. Any excessive punctuation, just one exclamation mark per text ad tends to be the limit, or is the limit. Don't use slang, don't use ats. No trademarks or copyrighted terms or content. But a bit of a pro tip from us is that although you can't use these trademarks or copyrighted terms in your ad text, that's not to say you can't use them as keywords. So something to bear in mind when setting up your campaigns. Any prohibited products, as per Google's T's and C's. Phone numbers should be added via a call extension rather than in the ad itself. And then any unsubstantiated claims, and also no trick to click text. Definitely gone are the days of using those sorts of techniques. And then other targeting options and campaign settings as well. So we have different options available within Google Ads to target users depending on the device that they're using. So are users searching on all devices, or is your business mainly relevant on a particular type of device? You might find that users only search on mobile, or specifically tend to search on mobile and convert on your website. As we know, mobile first is something Google are pushing these days more and more. It's extremely important to make sure your mobile site is up to scratch, because a huge portion of traffic these days, I would say it's 80% plus. People are searching on mobile consistently throughout the day. So making sure your mobile site is up to scratch is important. We also have Geo Targeting. Where are your customers based? Are you showing ads in all the right places, or are you excluding ads from locations that you don't offer your services to? Are you a local business that can only offer your service over a certain radius, for example? All those options are available within Google Ads. And different languages as well. if you are a multinational business, if you offer your services worldwide, it can be important to make sure that your website is in the local language that's available, and therefore your ads as well could reflect that, and you can offer your ads in all the different languages. And then finally, demographics as well. So demographics can be super important. A great example of this would be if you only offer clothing for men or for women. It can be super important to make sure that those ads are targeted specifically. There would be instances in which you might target men's clothing at women, for example, when it's sort of Christmas time. You might be shopping for your husband or vice versa. And it could be super powerful to use that technique as well. But there are tons and tons of instances and ways in which you can use demographical targeting too. So just a few of the options, a few ideas for you around the different targeting settings that you've got there. And then touching on Google Shopping campaigns as well. So I mentioned earlier that Google Shopping is it's quite different to Google Search in the way that it functions. But essentially, Google Shopping allows you to deliver product ads in response to a Google search. So you supply Google with a product feed. So essentially, a list of all of the products and all of the product information, such as the titles and the price, and you will import this to Google Merchant Center. Certain attributes are required in order for your Google feed to process. And then Google refers to the information within your feed to determine if a product is relevant for a user's search. So again, in the example here, we've got football trainers at the top. Excuse me. All of the feeds that these businesses have provided are likely to pertain to football trainers as an element of those shopping feeds for those products. You don't set which keywords will trigger your shopping ads to show. So this is where the key difference comes in. Google essentially uses that shopping feed information to determine when your ads are shown and for what searches. You do still, however, have control over which search terms display your products by using negative keywords. So very, very important to keep on top of that. And your ads can also appear on the shopping results tab as well. It's definitely something that is getting used more and more often by people. People are doing their shopping right from Google. Sometimes people aren't necessarily even clicking through to a website or to somebody's business until they know exactly which product they're going to be clicking through to. And then also important to remember, some certain products, such as pharmaceuticals and tobacco, are prohibited from Google Shopping campaigns. And also, all campaign setup and optimization is done within Google Ads as well. So that's why it's super relevant here. And then finally, we've got our top tips and tricks. So number one would be avoiding using Google's smart campaigns. Now, that's not to say that smart bidding and using smart elements and using some of Google's AI is very, very helpful these days. But do avoid using Google's smart campaigns. This is because you lose almost all control and you have very, very little data that you can access to optimize those campaigns as well. In reality, the amount of control taken off you is dramatic. So our advice would be don't use those Google smart campaigns. Check out topics.seomonitor.com for your keyword research. Definitely a great place to start. I would say in terms of a first port of call, it's well worth checking out. Get Google Analytics set up ASAP in terms of collecting data and optimizing campaigns and working out what demographics are relevant to your business and working out locations of the users from your business and also your conversion rates and things like that. Google Analytics can help with all of those. So yeah, get that set up ASAP. Make sure you're tracking those conversions. Super important. We talked through the different types of conversion earlier. And also, when setting up a brand new ads campaign, assume a conversion rate of under 1%. If you assume low and then work your way up from there, that's always the way forward. In reality, I think the term would be expect the worst, but hope for the best. And if you work with Google Ads in that manner, that can be a very, very powerful way to get started with it. Starting bids low as well. In the same instance, starting your bid nice and low and gradually working your way up based on results can mean that you reduce or minimize any wasted spend that you have there. And if you have an e-commerce site, for example, a Shopify website, then link to a good quality product feed so that you can run Google Shopping ads. And that will be done through Google Merchant Center. And if you don't understand any of the above, shameless plug here, but signing up for our webinars or joining one of our future courses or getting in touch with any of the guys in the team, me, obviously, Matt, is more than welcome as well. We're always on hand to help with any Google ad setup, or in fact, any ad setup at all. So I hope that's been helpful for everybody. More than happy to take any questions as well. And also, we have a digital marketing blended learning 12-day classroom live streamed set of lessons as well. So it's 1 day a week through the DMI course and the SIM qualifications. So yeah, this is run by all the specialists at Anicca. I mean, myself and Rachel, I believe, run part of that course, run some of the days on that course as well. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to use the link that's just been provided, or get in touch with us and we can help out with that as well. But thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Matt. That was really good. There was a question in the chat which you might want to follow up with, and that was, do you have any good B2B service company ads to showcase?
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say I potentially do. I will have to have a dig around for you, and we can showcase some of those for you without a doubt. But if you bear with us, I'm sure, Kate, you can help out with that as well.
Yeah. And then there's another one in Q&A. Are there any paid search tools you would recommend for keyword research and competitor analysis?
Absolutely. So as already mentioned, SEO Monitor is a fantastic tool across the board, actually. So the topics.seomonitor.com is great for keyword research, but then SEO Monitor as a tool itself is amazing for competitor research as well. It does require some investment. It does require payment for the tool, but in terms of the information that it offers, it can be, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, kind of second to none for a lot of tools. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, great.
Cool.
And I'm now going to pass over to Rachel, my lovely friend Rachel here, to talk about paid social.
Thank you. So yeah, thanks for that, Matt. We're going to talk about paid social now. So I'll move into the agenda. Obviously, about me, you've heard a bit about me already. I've been working in social for 7 years, been with Anicca for about 3 months. Obviously, I've covered organic and paid. So if you do have any questions about organic, I'm not covering that today, but feel free to get in touch with me outside of this and we can talk about that. So the agenda for today, I'm going to cover what is paid social, what is the marketing funnel, best practice across platforms, pixels, budgets, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. And then I'm going to look at useful tools, and then we'll end on a tips and tricks. That is a bit of a mouthful to say. I can understand why Matt said that now. Okay, so what is paid social? And paid social essentially is using the ads manager and the ads platforms of any social media tool. So it's different to how you would use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok on a personal level. That would be organic. We're not talking about that today. We are specifically talking about ads and the ads platforms that you use for these tools. So what does this mean? So I'm going to teach you how to set up and optimize ads. So these are some examples of ads here. On the left is a pin. That is an advert on Pinterest. The middle is an advert from Facebook platforms, and that's from made.com promoting their Black Friday sale. And on the right is an Instagram story from YSL. And as you can see here, they're all very commercial. They look different to something that you would see like as an organic post. They're not as engaging as you would expect from an organic post. The purpose of this for all of these 3 ads is leads or sales. And generally, that's what you'd expect from a paid campaign. So what is the marketing funnel and how does paid social correlate? Okay, so we have our Anicca version here. It's called the black hole, which sounds a bit scary and foreboding, but it's not. You're driving traffic down the funnel. So at the top is the awareness level. That's for people that don't know your business and you want to guide them down slowly into a conversion. And within that is interest, consideration, and conversion. And then at the very bottom is loyalty. So that's when people keep coming back to you for repeat purchases or to use your service multiple times. And paid platforms are set up in a very similar way. So you can set up based on awareness, consideration, and conversion. And this is similar across all platforms. So you're able to target users at whichever part of the funnel they're at, just to guide them further down into a conversion. Okay, so best practice across platforms. There are many fundamentals of social advertising which stay the same, regardless of platform. So we're just going to cover them now. So here's the campaign structure. When setting up an ad campaign on most social platforms, they will follow the same campaign structure. So you'll have campaign, which is the overarching campaign. Within that, you have multiple ad sets, and below that, you have ads. So we're going to go into more detail to talk about these now. A campaign is where you select your objectives, such as brand awareness or conversion. So this is the part where you think, what do I want my customers to do within this campaign? Every ad set and ad within this campaign will be optimized for that chosen objective. Then within that, there is an ad set. This is where you can select the audience, you can select the conversion event, you can set the dates, select the specific placements of where you want your ad to be shown, and your optimization strategy here. Below this, you can have multiple ads within an ad set, and you can have multiple ad sets within a campaign. So a reason why you would have multiple ad sets is if you're targeting different audiences. So they have different interests, or they're in different locations, or potentially you're using different types of audiences. So one might be remarketing, one might be demographic based. You can add them into the same campaign if you want to, or you might want to split them out, but the ability is there. So within an ad set, that's where you can create the advert creative, essentially. So that's where you can tailor the copy, you can tailor the headlines, the imagery, also the URLs. You can have multiple URLs for different ads to make sure that you're tracking the performance of your ads correctly. And again, there can be multiple ads within the same ad set here. It's best to use multiple ads. Just as a note on the side, it is best to use multiple ads because you can test creative. You can have many different types of call to action. If you want to do that, you can test between a learn more or a book now to see which is performing better. And if one is outperforming the other, then you know to go with the one that's performing better. I wouldn't recommend just running one type of ad creative, because if it underperforms, there's no way for you to learn from that, essentially. So it's best to have multiple here. So these are some examples of ad formats. There are a lot of different formats for an advertising campaign, and it's really important to have your creative in the right format for the placement that it's going to be shown. For example, Instagram stories, they are vertical images and videos. You don't want to be showing square images on that. And some platforms do let you, but your ads won't perform as well as what it would if you were to use the correct sized content for that placement. So I'll talk you through some of them here. So within a Facebook and Instagram feed, you'd use a square because you want people to see as much of the advert as possible. So if you were to use a horizontal image or horizontal video, obviously that takes up less space on the feed. So use a square in those instances. Obviously, Instagram stories, you want to be using the vertical images and videos. And then there's also times where you would use a horizontal placement, but this is only where there's no other option to. So if you're ever using Audience Network, you would use a horizontal placement there. But if you're setting up an ad campaign within Facebook, it does guide you through it. So if you're ever unsure of what type of placement should sit where, there are little buttons that you can hover over to give you an indication of what size content you need for that placement. So that's very guided there. On Twitter, it's very similar, but there has been a change recently with Twitter where they are more open to the use of square images. So before, if you used a square image, it used to crop. Whereas they don't do that anymore. So once again, your advert can take up a bit more of somebody's screen or somebody's device. I'll talk about something a bit more specifically. So let's move on to Snapchat and TikTok. It is only vertical placements on there. So you need to consider that if you're working with an agency or creative that's used to running ads on Facebook and Instagram, you just need to make sure that they're briefed properly and they are creating vertical content, because you don't want to brief them and then they give you assets that aren't suitable for that platform because they won't perform and you can't use them. So just make sure that any creatives you're working with are well briefed on the types of creatives that you should be using per platform. And then we'll move on to audiences. So I've used Facebook as examples for this, but they are very similar across platforms. So on most platforms, you can target based on demographics, interests, and behaviors. This type of audience is very similar across all of the platforms. And what you're doing here is you're building a persona of your target customer. So if you know your target customer is generally female, aged between 20 and 30, and they might be interested in certain programs, certain competitors, certain brands, this is where you can build your persona. And also, if you don't know that yet, you can go a bit broader and then you can learn from this. So if you want to go for a broader audience here, you can obviously run your campaign and then analyze it after to see which audience works best. This type of audience is ideal for communicating to new customers. So these are people that don't know about your brand at all, or they haven't engaged with you so far. Then lookalikes. Each platform has a version of a lookalike. They might be called something a bit different, such as I think one platform they call it an act-alike, but essentially they're the same thing. This is when you input your customer data into one of the platforms, and then the platform will match your data to the profiles on their platform, and they will serve you a new audience that is similar to your existing data. These are really, really good audiences to use because they are very closely matched to your current audiences. And they're especially good if you have a list of people who have already converted and you use that data to match. That returns a really successful audience. And that's essentially, it's a very good way to getting conversions without having to go through the full funnel process. That is also a mouthful. So these are new audiences, but they are just very, very similar to the ones that you have already. Then we have remarketing. So this is when we're talking about the funnel here, we are towards the bottom of the funnel. So these people have already engaged with one of your ads, or they've visited your website, for example. So these people already know you and you're re-advertising to them. So how this works is you will obviously have your pixel installed, so that will measure the activity there. If a person has visited your website, has visited a specific page on your website that you want to retarget, they've viewed a certain percentage of a video, or they have added a product to their cart on your website, but perhaps they haven't converted. And you can also target based on the time spent on your website. So there are many different ways to target these people, but essentially these people already know us and you want to push them over the edge of a conversion. So whether you want them to purchase or share their details, so a lead, this is the last step in that process. And then dynamic remarketing is very similar to remarketing that I've just spoke about, but this is linked to e-commerce catalogs. So dynamic ads will automatically serve customers the products that they've already engaged with or the ones that they're most likely to be interested in. And once again, this is just to push conversions over the line. So you may have seen this on your profile. I often get ones from Amazon. So they'll just serve me products that they think I will like, and it will essentially be a catalogue of the products that you can scroll through. And another example is Wish. I don't know if you've ever seen these ads, but some of the products that they advertise are insane, but I can't help but look at them because they're so odd. Wish also do dynamic remarketing, and they display them in this carousel. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't noticed them already, you might do now. Then we're going to talk about pixels. So what are they and how to use them? So essentially, a pixel is a snippet of code which is put on your website, and that enables platforms to track and measure the performance of your campaigns. A pixel will collect data and allow you to optimize your campaigns, analyze your audience, and hopefully improve conversions as a result. So each platform has a pixel, and they will have guides on how to set up and implement your pixels. I'm going to specifically talk about the recent iOS update and how that affects your tracking. So a little while ago, Apple have implemented a change in their update. So they asked people to opt into targeting, and we've never had to do this before. And as an advertiser, that means that a lot of people have ticked opt out and say that they don't want to be advertised to. So that makes pixels more important than ever, because we want to enable accurate tracking in a time when you can't track your customers as accurately as before. So if somebody has clicked that they don't want their data to be shared, or they don't want to be tracked, that means that the ads they will see are less relevant, because advertisers don't have as much data to go off. So if you yourself have clicked like don't track or ask app not to track, and you're seeing really strange adverts at the minute, or adverts that you feel aren't relevant to you, that will be why. So to help with that, Facebook have a tool essentially to help your audience convert when they've asked the app not to track, and this is through Events Manager. So what they've done is they've created a tool called Aggravated Events. So essentially, if somebody can take one action on the website, Facebook will guide them to that action, whereas usually you would have 8. So this could be a page view, a site search, a lead, view content, add to cart. You can choose them yourself. They're standard events that happen on most websites. You can pick the ones which are priority. So to do this, you need to have your pixel installed, and you'll need to go to Events Manager. And this image on the right is a screenshot essentially of a dashboard of one of our clients' events managers. Obviously, we've taken the client out there, but I just wanted to show you what your dashboard should look like, because if you haven't set this up yet, your dashboard will look different to this because the data won't be pulling through. But essentially, what you want to do there is set up all of these events. As I said, there are 8 that you can choose. So choose the 8 which are most important to your service or your shop. And then you will want to click into Aggravated Event Measurement, which you can see there. It says New in the purple button. And that's where you select your priority event. So if somebody has to take one single action on your website, what do you want it to be? So you'll see your conversions improve there if a customer has selected that they don't want their data to be tracked. So Facebook are working to improve that, and they are implementing tools. But if you have been running ads before the update, and obviously you're seeing a difference now, that will be why. So budgets, where to allocate your spend and how much. A logical way to allocate budget is based on the campaign objective. So the lower the commitment, the cheaper the cost per action will be. For example, if you're running a reach campaign, and that means you want the max amount of people to see your ads as possible within your location targeting, but there's no action required, they just need to see the ad, that means it's a very cheap objective. However, if you're expecting somebody to take an action such as a conversion, or so you're asking somebody to purchase or share their details, that is quite a high commitment, and therefore it will come at a higher cost than what you would expect somebody just to see your ad. So if you're allocating budget there, make sure that you're prioritizing a higher amount of your budget to conversion, because those actions cost more. So just a bit more within budgets, platforms do vary in cost per result. So Facebook is a really cost efficient platform. Typically you'd see less than 20p for a landing page view for a B2C type of account, especially with larger audiences, and less than £1 for B2B. So it is more effective for B2C, and you will see cheaper cost per results, but still for a B2B business, that is still quite a cheap cost per result when you compare it to other platforms. So when you compare Facebook to LinkedIn, for example, we all know in the industry that this is quite an expensive platform to run campaigns on. You're looking at less than £5 for a cost per click, but when you compare that to Facebook, obviously that's 5 times more expensive, for example. Video views are also cheaper on most platforms. So you're looking at less than 2p on Facebook, which is really, really cheap. You can optimize in 2 different ways for videos that on Facebook. So there's through play. So the user will watch more of the video, or you can do a 2 or 3 second view. So obviously if you want somebody to watch more of your video, that is going to cost more, because there is a commitment there. But in general, video views are really, really cheap to run. Advert relevancy affects budget. So the more relevant your advert is, the cheaper cost per result. And this is similar to quality score in Google, if you've used that before. Within Facebook, it has the same sort of ad ranking method. So it will say ad relevancy, the quality of the ad, and also it assesses the landing page. If your advert is ranking high in these three topics, then Facebook will deem your ad as relevant, and therefore you will be prioritized on the feed compared to competitors who are targeting the same audience but potentially have a less relevant ad. So therefore your ad will have a cheaper cost per result than what you expected in the first place. So just make sure that your ads are as relevant as possible. And then also another thing which will affect budget is where you're at each stage of the funnel and the audience you're targeting. So for example, if you are using a new audience within a conversion campaign, that will be a very expensive cost per result, because they haven't gone through the funnel. You're expecting them to take an action when they don't know of your business already. So just be really considerate of the audience you're using at each stage. So new audiences for awareness, and then further down the funnel, if you're expecting somebody to convert, you might want to have remarketed to these already. So they visited your website, so they know you, but you're trying to push them over the line. So you're trying to encourage them to share a lead or to purchase. So just be mindful of that with your budget. And also another thing which affects budget is how you choose to bid. So most platforms have the option of automated or manual bidding. You do have more control over your budget when you're manual bidding. However, this can require a lot of time investment to ensure your budget is used efficiently. So, for example, us here in our agency, manual bidding is great for us to use because we have a lot of control over how the campaign's running, and we are in the campaigns all day, every day. Whereas if you are in a general marketing team and social media or social ads are just a small part of your everyday tasks, then you'll probably want to use automated bidding, because you're still going to receive a good cost per result, but the cost is less controlled. And it means that if you just leave your campaign to run, nothing too bad is going to go wrong. Whereas if you're manual bidding, your ads might underserve or they might overspend. So just be mindful of which type of bid you're using there. And then I'm just going to go into a bit more detail of each of the platforms and what the benefits of advertising on each platform are. So to manage ads on Facebook, you want to be using the business tools, so Ads Manager. Don't boost from the feed. If you're running a small business or you're using your mobile a lot to post your business's content, you'll often get prompts by Facebook. So boost this post to 1,000 people for £1 something, you'll get them a lot, and it will try to encourage you to spend your money, but actually this really isn't wise. So you'll want to set up an ads manager and run your ads through this platform. So audiences are a lot more controlled. You can set specific dates, you can do remarketing, all that sort of stuff. It gives you a lot more control than what it would be if you were boosting from the platform. So I would never recommend doing that. Also to mention, there are other tools within Facebook's business suite. So you have e-commerce manager, the audience builds. There are a lot of things in there to use. So it isn't just the advertising platform, and it is free. And if you're unsure of how to use this, there is a tool. There's like a training scheme called Blueprint by Facebook, which can guide you through that. So if you've never ran ads before, don't worry, just use the Blueprint resources and that will guide you and teach you how to do it. So to give you an overview of why advertising on Facebook is good and why you should do it, it is Facebook Ads Manager has the most versatile set of objectives. So obviously the examples I've shown you where you can reach people from awareness, the consideration or the conversion stage. Facebook's really good for driving traffic and conversions on e-commerce sites as well as physical stores. So it caters for a lot of different businesses. And due to the depth and variety of targeting options available on Facebook, it's really effective for B2C and B2B. So please don't think that if you're a B2B brand, Facebook isn't suitable for you, because it can be. You can target people based on their jobs, if their job is available in there. Sometimes they're not. It is still effective. Obviously, there is a consideration of people are scrolling Facebook in a personal capacity. So it is a different environment to how somebody might be using LinkedIn. But I see social media tool ads and social media related ads in my feed all the time. And it doesn't put me off because I find it interesting, because obviously it's my job. I enjoy my job, and therefore those ads are relevant to me. So it doesn't seem out of place to see them on Facebook or Instagram. Also, if you're using the Facebook Ads Manager platform, this allows you to buy ads on Instagram, Messenger, Audience Network as well. So it's not just the Facebook tool that you're using within Facebook Ads Manager. And also, as I've said before, it's the cheapest platform to run campaigns on. So it's ideal for those with a tight marketing budget. And LinkedIn ads. This is managed through Campaign Manager. Similar to Facebook, they have their own tool to set up and manage your ads. If you need to set one up, you just can obviously download this handout and click or visit the URL just there. And LinkedIn as a platform is obviously ideal for B2B, as this platform is for professional use. And you can target people based on a lot of different professional attributions. So their company, you can target based on their skills, their job title, the industry, the member groups they're associated with. So there are vast targeting options related to their job on this platform. As I've said before, this platform can be expensive. However, the leads you generate from this platform are really high quality in comparison to any other platforms. So if high quality leads is what you're looking for, just put your money into LinkedIn. It is expensive, but you're going to get the quality back. And obviously here on LinkedIn, it's good to nurture your leads, but in a professional context. So as I've said, it's not on their personal social media platforms. So for me, I don't mind seeing that sort of thing on my LinkedIn. But if you're targeting quite a traditional industry, they might not be as happy to see them sorts of ads on their Facebook, or they might not even be using Facebook. So obviously on LinkedIn, it is within context of a professional platform, so they're used to seeing job-related adverts. Also, this platform can be used for targeting or educating niche audiences. For example, you could use a video views campaign followed by remarketing with lead generation ads. So you can still use similar ad strategies as you would on any other campaign, but just in any other platform, but just in a professional capacity. Pinterest ads. Once again, they have their own ads platform, and this can be accessed through the link above. All platforms generally look the same and do the same sort of thing. I find Pinterest a really, really interesting platform, as it is different to any other social media platform. Although it's it's considered social media. It's not really. Pinterest have changed a lot in the last couple of years, and it is actually more of a shopping platform. So it has some characteristics of search engines. It is based on shopping and discovery. And Pinterest themselves even say they're not a social media tool. It's a tool to seek inspiration and discover. So what you'll find on this platform is that people use the tool not to be social, but to seek inspiration and plan projects. So people on this platform have a higher intent than those on any other social media platform. And a really interesting fact that I saw the other day is majority of users on Pinterest search for non-branded terms. So they haven't decided what brand they want to purchase from yet. So they might be searching for a sofa, for example. They're looking for a green velvet sofa, but they haven't gone straight to made.com's channel, or they haven't searched for DFS if they do that type of sofa. They are not down that mindset yet. So you can target people early before they've even decided what brand is relevant to them. So you're at the very, very start of their purchasing consideration phase. Pinterest is really great if you're running ads for a home brand or like a food brand. People often use it for recipes, that sort of thing. And I once worked with a client which was a home builder, and we used Pinterest for them, and that was actually really successful because people were at the very, very beginning of they're looking for a house, but also they're searching for living room inspiration. They're just beginning to think about what their house will look like. So that was really relevant to a home builder. So it's just thinking about how this platform can be relevant to you. And then obviously following through the usual strategies that we recommend. So awareness, consideration, and conversion. You need to still follow that same route on this platform. But it can be really, really effective for B2C brands and especially e-commerce retailers where the purchase can be measured. And then here's just some examples of how Pinterest is a discovery tool. So they have catalogs, just like any other platform, but they are more visual on here. You can turn any product that you have on your site into a pin. Also, they have shopping ads. So these pins are marked with a special price tag icon that can help your client engage with your customers early. So, for example, if they see an image, they can click on that image and up will pop all the products that are featured in that image. Then they also have dynamic retargeting, similar to other platforms. They have collections, which are very similar to other platforms. So you can have a lifestyle image, but within that, you might have multiple products. So obviously here you can see that the plate is available to buy, the cutlery, the napkins, for example. And then also through Pinterest changes over the last couple of years, they recognize that people come to this platform to shop. So now they have a dedicated shop tab where each of the pins shown on this tab are shoppable. So you can click through to the retailer's site and purchase the product. And also something which I haven't included here, which I think is really cool, is they have a feature called Lens. So if you see, if you're out and about and you see something you like, so you go out for dinner and you think, oh, this is nice cutlery, I wonder where they get this from. You can take a picture there and you can upload it into Lens later, or you can use Lens to take a picture of this cutlery, and then Pinterest will serve you similar suggestions back. So you can purchase the same sort of product to obviously use at home. I think that's a really interesting tool, and that's recently new to Pinterest too. So they are creating a lot of tools that enables easier shopping, essentially. And then some useful tools and top tips just to end on. So these are tools which I use every day. They'll be really useful to you as well. So I use Facebook Ads Library to see what competitors are doing. Essentially, all you need to do here is you input the competitor or the brand that you would like to look at the ads that they've been running. You put in their page in there, and it will serve you the ads that this company have ran for the past few months. And also, I find it really useful. This is just something I just do to help me. If you're writing copy for your ad and you're struggling with ideas or need some inspiration, this is really good to give you some sort of idea of like how to create new and engaging copy. If you're just lacking that some days, because it's quite hard to be creative every day, isn't it? Also, we use Google Data Studio. So this is to create live and automated reporting, and linked to that is Google Analytics. Most people will be using that, but that's obviously to analyze the performance of your campaign and where your users then go on the website and how they behave and convert. Another tool we use is Zapier. So essentially, this is a middle tool to help you integrate platforms to work together. So if you're using a CRM or a shopping platform that doesn't directly integrate with Facebook, you can use Zapier in the middle to help that connection work. And then, as I said earlier in the presentation, Facebook Blueprint is a really good free resource to help educate yourself on how to run adverts on Facebook if this is something you've never done before. And if you want to, they do offer an exam. It doesn't matter if you do this or you don't really, as long as you take all of the steps and do all of the learnings within the Facebook Blueprint course, that should be enough for you to then set up your ads manager and start running your own campaigns. And yeah, Facebook is a really good place to start. If you've never ran ads before, you have really minimal budget, it's very effective for that type of campaign. There are lots of different targeting options. The audience is massive on Facebook, and also there's a lot of different ways to target your audiences. So I definitely recommend to start advertising on there if you're not already. Once you've mastered Facebook, all of the platforms will seem very easy because they're very similar. So start on there and work your way throughout all of the other platforms. And as I've said before, don't boost your posts. Use a Facebook Business Manager and a Facebook Ads account to do that and set up your campaigns properly. If you have limited budget, focus on a traffic or a conversion campaign to get the most from your budget. Obviously, this is only relevant if you want to convert your customers. If you're just wanting to reach them, don't do that. And also, if you want maximum awareness, use a video view campaign. So this will cost you less than 2p per view, and you can remarket with that as well. So it's really useful data to have. And all it requires is for the user to watch a small percentage of your video to enable them to be retargeted to. And I think that's it. So there might be some questions. I haven't actually looked through.
There are some questions. You're very popular.
Yeah.
Well, let's go through the questions. And we've got some offers to come as well, guys. Charlotte's asked, when we run ads on Facebook, we target a specific audience, but we have issues with trolls that don't match our set target audience. Do you have any advice?
I'm just trying to work out how they might have seen your ads if they're not within your audience. So your ad, bearing in mind, your ad can also be shared organically. So other people who outside of your targeting may still see this. There's like a blocked list, so you can include words in this block list that stop people from commenting or engaging on your post. So it might be worth having a look at that to see if there are any specific things that they say within the comments, and you can just block them straight up. So the comment won't even be visible. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to manually block them. They just don't get shown.
And Rachel's email address is there. I'm sure we can help you, Charlotte, if that doesn't help. But I think that sounds like good advice. Matt, you going for question 2?
So yes, question 2, I believe, is from Maria. Is there something that can be used to see ad samples on Facebook and LinkedIn? So I don't know if you've got any other examples of good ways, Rachel. I did drop a link into the chat for the Facebook ads library, which is a really good way of looking at competitor ads, as far as I know.
Yeah.
You're the expert here.
That is the same advice I'd give. Yeah, Facebook.
We do have a really good resource library, guys. So, make sure you check it out on the website, and all the links have been shared. We can share them again as well. So, okay, next question. Gurjit. On a recent Facebook campaign, Facebook advice was to change the creative every 2 weeks. However, this is quite a challenge and costly to brief new creative every 2 weeks. What is the best way of managing this?
Yeah, I don't actually think that's very good advice. So what you should be looking at to base your judgment there is how frequently people are seeing that creative, rather than every 2 weeks. Yeah. Because if you're targeting a really broad audience, they might still have a really low frequency every 2 weeks, depending on the size of their audience. If you're targeting the whole of the UK, for example, I don't know why you would be doing that. But if let's say Walker's Crisps were your client, and you probably would target the whole of the UK because everybody likes crisps, they probably wouldn't see that ad multiple times in 2 weeks because there are so many people. So I would say if people have seen your advert creative more than 5 times, they're probably going to get a bit bored of it there, and you'll see the effectiveness of your ads drop. So I'd use that as a benchmark. And if you don't know how to see that, a way to see that is to go into the ads level on Facebook, and then you'll see on the very right there's like a little blue button with a plus. You can select that and then type in frequency, and then that will bring up a column that shows you the frequency of your ads. So base your judgment on that. And I can understand that refreshing ad creative can be expensive, especially if you're using a freelancer and you have to outsource that payment to somebody else. But it is quite important because you don't want people to switch off your ads because you're going to be wasting money on Facebook as well. So you'll see less conversions or less people engaging with your content. And I'm not sure if you have the capability to do this, but there are also free tools to help you create creative. So if you've used Canva, Canva is a really great tool. It's a free tool to create your creative with. And also, if you're working with an agency or freelancer, you could potentially ask them to create you a template, which you can then change every time you need to create different creative. So there are easier ways to do this. And I hope that helps.
And there's a couple more from Samantha. Should you run separate ads based on which placements you're targeting to avoid platforms automatically resizing?
Would you recommend using ads across all placements? So what I do, if I'm running a campaign that does use all of the placements, or majority of the placements, you can tailor your creative within the ad setup. So let's say you're in, it's hard to describe it without actually showing you. So when you're in the ad setup stage, you can click into the placement. So they'll group them into 3. They'll group them into feeds. So that's largely square placements. They'll group them into stories and audience network, I think. And within them, you can actually change the creative for each of the placements. So you might be running one advert creative, but in there, each of your creative is sized to the placement that's being shown in. I can show you that. I know that probably seems quite hard to like visualize through me saying that, but if you do want me to show you that, I can show you how that works, because it's really easy, and it just means that your ads are showing as correctly as they can be.
And there's a bit of a follow-up question as well. Also, would you recommend running ads across all placements, or specifying based on previous results where placements have worked well?
Yeah,
or
so
risk less exposure.
If you've tested before and you've seen better success from certain placements, definitely use them going forward, because some placements just aren't that effective. So, for example, Facebook right column, you're not going to expect too much from that placement. So sometimes you might just want to exclude that. Or if you're advertising certain things, or you want certain conversions. So a campaign that I've run recently, I've set up a campaign for a client which was encouraging ticket sales for theatres, and one of the placements was Marketplace. I thought, I'm just going to take Marketplace out there, because people aren't going to be converting in that scenario when they're looking for a new Hoover or a new secondhand kettle. They're not then just going to decide that they want to buy theatre tickets. So also think about the context of how people are going to be using these certain placements and platforms. So in summary, I would definitely use the placements that you've seen success from previously.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point as well. Just to add to that, I think data always speaks loudest. And in reality, Samantha,
Sure.
if you've tried all of the placements at some point and you've seen some work and some not work, if you've got a limited amount of budget, and you're not like Walker's Chris, for example, like Rachel used as an example earlier, you definitely want to be going for the things that worked and not the things that didn't. And that, to be honest, that applies across every channel in every instance. If you've got a limited budget, you want to be optimizing towards the things that work most effectively as you go.
Okay, and just to say, the video will be available later, and there's the handouts there. There's actually an offer that I want to tell you about as well. Just let me do that for you. So you should see that now on the left-hand side. We obviously run the DMI courses, and it's run by our agency professionals, all at a really senior level. And we might be accessing some grants for this, and the discounts will be phenomenal. So I suggest, if you're interested, please register your interest now, and we'll be in touch. It's really for the East Midlands region specifically, but yeah, it'd be great to hear from you. And then just also, just want to say a big thank you to Matt and Rachel for what they've done today. If you can leave us a review, just to say thank you, if you click on the link that's just in front of you, that would mean a lot to us as well. You put significant effort in there, and you've been really supportive for me as well with the Q&A, which went on fire today, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's no problem at all.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, thank you to everyone for tuning in as well. Hopefully we've provided some useful insights for you. And like Katie says, if we have, feel free to drop us a review. We're always grateful to get everybody's feedback, and also everybody's input on the sorts of webinars and things like that we do next as well. So yeah, very, very, very happy to receive feedback, and we appreciate any time you put in.
Okay, and obviously we have a full webinar program. The next one's in a couple of weeks, so we'll be in touch with more information about that. But yeah, great to see you all today, and see you all again soon.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.